I'm speaking today with Agnes Heller, a Jewish-Hungarian philosopher about persecution, escape, and freedom. Welcome, Ms. Heller.
Thank you.
I also welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the interview on DW. My name is Thomas Spahn. Ms. Heller, you escaped the Holocaust on more than one occasion. Yet you've repeatedly said, "I never let myself be forced to do anything. I never felt unfree, not even when I was supposed to be shot." When you said that, were you thinking of your escape on the Danube River?
That is an exaggeration. Of course, I did not feel free during the time of the Holocaust. Certainly, I did not feel free as I stood by the Danube and waited to be shot. I did not feel free. Yet, I was always convinced that I have a choice. That is not the same thing. One does not have to feel free to still believe, to be certain that it makes a difference whether you walk on the left side of the street or the right, whether I jump or don't jump. We knew nothing. We knew nothing about Auschwitz. We didn't know about the gas chambers. Why was I so absolutely convinced that they would kill us if we go there, to where they were bringing us? I don't know. That was instinct. There are good instincts. That is an erroneous construct that we always choose consciously. We do not always make a conscious choice.
You're talking about an inner freedom. That is something your father was no longer afforded. He was murdered in Auschwitz. Auschwitz was liberated 70 years ago. We're commemorating that liberation this year. What is your father's legacy?
My father was a moralist. He was a very strict, moral person, which is why he left a great impression on me. He helped refugees. He went to the internment camp in Madonna Street in order to help the young people, and not so young people there, who had fled first from Germany and then from Austria, later also from Poland. He wanted to help them.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said about the situation today, "We do not want any foreigners here. We do not want refugees." Many Hungarians are saying those things. Are Hungarians bad people?
A nation, people, individual people are bad or good, evil or good. A nation can be neither evil nor good. But there can be governments, like the one in Hungary, that facilitate the worst instincts of its population. Orban is a person, and our government consists of people who toy with the worst instincts of the Hungarian people, who amplify them vis-à-vis the good instincts. And what happens? The nationalism of the 20th century, as perhaps of the 21st century, is, I'd like to say, well, the most potent poison is substantive nationalism. And that is Orban's policy. He talks of defending the nation-state against the European Union, against Brussels. We have to rein in the nation-state. That does not mean he always says that nations, that states, are like egotistical animals. And he's right about that. A nation-state is much more egotistical than all other forms of state. It is an egotistical animal. That's how he actually expressed himself, that there will be a new period in Brussels, an end to liberalism. We will put an end to liberalism, he said just days ago. That is his program, and it is a very strong program. As you had said, there are people, there are leaders, party leaders, who agree with this program today. Let's take Poland or Marine Le Pen in France and other countries.
What does all that mean? Can the EU be saved?
I do not know what it means. I can only describe it. This type of substantive nationalism has grown quite strong. The people seem to have forgotten that nationalism, since it was victorious in World War I against the cosmopolitan and the proletarian internationalism, bestowed us with some 60 years of mass murder and 100 million dead bodies. And if you forget the 100 million dead bodies, the whole thing will begin again.
You've emigrated from Hungary before because you wanted to flee persecution by the communists. Have the times become so bad again that you may have to leave again soon?
Those times cannot be compared. Hungary has been sharply criticized, and rightly so. But you can't compare Orban with Brezhnev. You compare him with democratic leaders like Angela Merkel. And if you compare him with Angela Merkel, you immediately see that within the European Union, Orban's so-called illiberal democracy symbolizes and embodies the worst of all possible options.
What can philosophy do to help make clear to people that nationalism will lead to catastrophe?
Philosophy itself does nothing. It is the philosophers that can do something. Philosophers can do two things. They can act as citizens of a state among other citizens, not because we are philosophers, but because we are citizens. Of course, they can express their philosophical perspectives to the people in the newspapers, the press, and on television. That is, philosophers can behave like businessmen. We have a product. This product, we believe the truth is our product. We're not quite certain, but we believe that it is true. This product, the truth, is what we are selling.
Let's talk about the product philosophy. Many say philosophy is aloof, that it is not something that has any bearing in everyday practical life. Let's dispel that. What's a good person?
Firstly, what is practical life? Yes, that's where one should begin. They say you can't make any money with philosophy. That is probably true. Working in the economy, you could make a whole lot more money. Philosophy was never an occupation where people would get very rich.
But are there not, from your rich experience as a philosopher, any maxims that you have worked out in order to answer the most fundamental questions? The question, for example, who is a good person? What must he or she do?
Philosophers have asked fundamental questions. Who is a good person? What is being? What is truth? What is life? Very many questions. Many of these questions have had a direct influence on human existence. That is, whether we live more or less meaningful lives. But not all of these questions also have a direct influence on political thought. Some of the questions posed have an influence on political thought. And I must say, philosophers have always been in love with politics. From Plato to Sartre and Heidegger, and not always in a positive way. Perhaps even in the worst way, were they always in love with politics. They always had the idea they must tell us something new and true about politics. That has always been let's call it a passion of philosophy.
You named a number of philosophers, not a single woman. There are not many women in philosophy.
I could name Hannah Arendt, of course. She was an especially political philosopher, yes.
Why is it that there are not many well-known women in philosophy? Is it the women, or is it the other philosophers?
For philosophy, as for culture in general, you need freedom. In all of our history, women have never been free, at least not in the sense of independence. They were always dependent on others. And if you are not free, if you are not, in a sense, independent, then your thoughts and capacities cannot develop freely. You cannot then create anything in high culture. That is why women have not achieved anything in high culture. It is different today. Today, women can achieve something in high culture. And it is because they can be independent, because they're not oppressed. That is the case today.
You're a free, independent woman, and have been for many years, actually since childhood. You're now 86 years old. You commute between homes in New York and Budapest. You hold readings, like here in Bad Homburg, and you write books. You speak of writing as an erotic experience. Let us take part in your pleasure. What is it about writing you find erotic?
Of course it is erotic. One loves doing it. You feel good when you are writing, reading and writing. That is, anything you do that brings pleasure, where you feel pleasure, for which you have a passion, can be described as erotic. And I believe that philosophy, for me at least, is erotic. That's how it is.
Ms. Heller, we always conclude our interview with 3 incomplete sentences and ask our guests to complete them. The first sentence is, I go swimming every morning because...
Because I love it. I like to do it.
I'm not a feminist because...
Because I'm not one. I don't believe in isms. All isms just demand something of me that I do not want to do. That is, independence and isms just don't go together.
The greatest fortune of my life is...
to have been born.
Ms. Heller, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.